Marvellous. So we'll start seated on our mats in a comfortable seated position. So however that looks for you, I try and convince everyone to go cross-legged, but that's just sometimes excruciating for some people. So if you feel that you need to extend your hamstrings, your legs out in front of you, that's absolutely fine. And then just take your hands onto your knees, either palms facing down or palms facing the ceiling, just whatever feels more comfortable for you. And then closing down your eyes and just taking your attention to your breath. So inhaling and exhaling through your nose. And just finding that space for yourself. Finding some quiet, finding some stillness. And noticing your breath without changing anything. Just focusing, visualizing on the rise and fall of your belly. And grounding equally between both sit bones. And lengthening your spine. Growing out through the crown of your head on the inhale. And then on your exhale, dropping your shoulders down away from the ears. And maybe tucking your chin towards your chest, just ever so slightly. And just noticing what comes up for you. What feelings are there? We are in a full moon, so I know it sounds like rubbish. A lot of people think it's rubbish, but can actually feel a bit more sensitive during this time, ancestrally. So just notice anything and how you are physically as well. So any tension, any areas of tightness, any areas of pain, hopefully not, but just notice. And then if it feels right, set an intention for your practice. So that can be a sentence starting with I am, just for how you intend to feel at the end of the yoga session, and maybe taking that into the rest of the week with you. But also no obligation. So sometimes I am calm, or I am strong, or I am okay, I'm grounded, I'm not stressed in the slightest. And then just saying it to yourself internally. And then keeping your eyes closed if you wish, or opening up your eyes, taking your hands to heart center, so palms to meet. And we'll inhale, extending our fingertips up towards the ceiling, taking your gaze up towards your hands, dropping the shoulders down away from the ears, really lengthening the spine. Notice that pull on the shoulder blades. Staying with the breath. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, twist to the right, drop your fingertips behind you, and take the outside edge of that left hand onto the outside of that right knee, and just looking over the right shoulder. And then taking an inhale back through center, taking those palms all the way up again. And then exhale, dropping that right hand to the outside of that left knee. Drop the left fingertips behind you. And taking a twist behind. And then inhale back through center, extending your fingertips up high. And then exhale, taking your hands onto your knees. And then we'll take some rotations. So inhale as you come forwards and exhale as you send that torso back. So just taking some circles with your torso, waking up the hips, but also grounding equally between both sit bones. And using the resistance of your hands on your knees to just pull your body forwards and then send it back. And then going the other side, so opposite direction. And then taking your fingertips onto your shoulders. Inhale as you draw your elbows together, send them up towards the ceiling. And then exhale as you drop them down. So just taking some circles with those elbows. In time with your breath. And just working into those shoulder blades. And then opposite direction. So sending them out and up. Just noticing any clicking that's going on. Hopefully no pain. Sometimes it can be a bit clicky. And we'll inhale, sending those fingertips up high again. And then exhale, folding forwards. So grounding again equally between both sit bones. And creeping those fingertips forwards towards the opposite wall. And relaxing your neck. And breathing into it with every exhale, trying to creep those fingertips forward. And not worrying about how far you're going. No competition with yourself. And inhale, walking those fingertips back towards you. And taking your right hand onto your left knee and your left onto the right knee. So crossing over your arms. And then tucking your chin to chest and pulling on both knees, just gently. Just to find some space between those shoulder blades. And inhaling, gently coming out of it. And if you're cross-legged, just changing the cross of your legs. Grounding again, both sit bones, just noticing the difference on this side. And we'll inhale, extending those fingertips up towards the ceiling. And exhale, folding over again. So working into that opposite hip. Just noticing the difference, noticing how it feels. Maybe seeing if you can just creep those fingertips just a tiny bit further than you could before. Coming down onto your forearms if that's available. Just staying with those inhales and exhales all the time. And then inhale, walking those fingertips back towards you and taking your left hand onto your right knee and then crossing your right hand over to the left. We'll pull on those knees again, just gently, chin to chest, finding that space in the shoulder blades again. And then releasing and interlacing your hands behind you, really seeing if you can try and squeeze the heels of the hands together. We'll inhale, shining the chest forward, taking the gaze up towards the ceiling. And then see if you can lengthen those hands behind you. And then exhale, taking a fold forwards, dropping the chin to chest, Squeezing those shoulder blades, taking those hands up overhead, but not forcing anything. And we'll inhale, coming out of it. And then we'll send our right leg long, keeping our left sole of the foot into that inner thigh. So your right leg is kind of 2 o'clock on the clock. And we'll inhale, extending those fingertips up. And exhale, folding that torso over that right leg. Again, grounding through both sit bones. And just grabbing hold of any part of the leg which is available to you. So it might be the outside edge of the foot, it could be the calf or the ankle, or just simply folding over, but making sure both sit bones are grounded. And if that's too strong, taking a bend in that knee so that you can really fold the torso over and so that you can really stretch into that lower back. So it's a hamstring stretch, but it's also a lower back stretch. And a really good working from home one as well. We tend not to stretch out the kind of outside edges of the lower back area. And we'll inhale, walking those hands back up. And then exhale, we'll take our lower forearm on the inside of that right leg and inhale, sweeping that left arm above and really using the resistance of your right arm against that right leg to twist your torso up towards the ceiling. And again, it's less about how far over you're going, but more about twisting and lengthening up and just using gravity. And every exhale, to drop further down and really noticing a nice stretch in that left-hand side. And again, making sure both sit bones are grounded onto the mat so that you're feeling that benefit in the lower back. And just breathing here. Allowing gravity to do its magic. And inhale. Coming back up really slowly and placing that left hand behind you. We'll take another inhale as you push through that left hand and send those hips up towards the ceiling, taking that right hand behind you. So really opening out the front of the body. And we'll exhale, taking those hips back down. And we'll work into the other side. So extending that left leg out, taking the right sole of the foot into that inner thigh. And inhale, sweeping those arms up, both sit bones grounded. Flex that left foot back towards your face. And then exhale, folding over that left leg. And breathing really deeply up into the belly, up into the chest. And then on the exhale, just allowing yourself to sink down. And just doing what's right for you. So maybe taking a bend in that knee so you can feel it in that right area of the lower back. Or if you want to work more into the hamstrings, working on keeping that leg straight. And inhaling, finding some space. And as you exhale, sink into that space that you create. And we'll inhale, creeping those hands back up, growing tall, and then exhale, taking that left forearm on the inside of that left leg. And we'll inhale, sweeping that right arm up, gazing up at the palm, opening up that right side. And just dropping that right hand down, noticing any differences on this side. And enjoying that lovely stretch in the right. And Inhale, coming back up. Gently placing that right hand behind you. And then take another breath as you lift those hips up towards the ceiling. Dropping that left hand behind you. Lovely stretch, opening out the front of the body. And then exhale, sinking back down. And we'll take our feet together. So again, just working where you feel needs that stretch. So either taking a bend in the knees, growing up really tall, sweeping the arms up, and then exhaling, folding over. And then gradually working into this stretch. So again, taking some movement into it, straightening those legs. Okay, here so you can see. So starting maybe with bent legs, eyes covering the knees. And then just going where it feels good for you. So again, working into it. Grabbing hold of any area of the leg, just to pull that torso down. Making sure the neck is relaxed. And just breathing into it here. Giving yourself that space and time for those muscles just to stretch out. And finding that edge, so that point of resistance just before it gets too much. And then pulling back a bit. And we'll inhale, walking those fingertips back up. And then crossing over your legs, we'll come into our tabletop position. So make sure you're lengthways on your mat. Knees under your hips, hands underneath the shoulders. And we'll just take our usual cat-cows, so dropping that belly. Take the gaze up towards the ceiling as you inhale. And then as you exhale, pushing through the hands, rounding the spine, chin to chest. And just warming up the spine. Stretching out the front of the body. And stretching the shoulders. And then maybe taking the hips out from side to side. And we'll walk our hands forwards, taking them to the corner of the top of the mat. Inhale, gaze forward, and then exhale, taking your forearms onto the mat and taking your forehead in contact with the mat. Knees are bent and hips over those knees. Coming into our puppy dog pose. And this might be enough, but if you'd like to work into it a bit more, taking your chin onto the mat. And maybe even coming up onto your fingertips. Just to work deeper into those shoulders. And taking an inhale here, and as you exhale, walk yourself forwards, coming all the way down onto your tummy, and taking your forehead onto the backs of your hands, and windscreen wiper out your legs, just to release off any tension in your lower back. And taking our hands to shoulder height, we'll take an inhale, and lifting your chest off the mat, pushing into your hands, pointing through the toes, and engaging the glutes to protect that lower back. And if this is fine for you, next stage is just to try and release those hands. So taking them to a hover, pointing through the toes, just working into the back. If that's too much, the lower back, keep your hands in contact with the mat. We'll take an inhale here, and as you exhale, lowering your forehead down onto the mat. Then we'll inhale, lifting the chest off the mat again, and exhale. Come back down. Inhale, lifting the chest off the mat again. And again, either staying here if you want to just work into it a bit more, work into the feet. So taking the feet into a hover, really pointing through the toes. Again, you might want to place your hands back down and then maybe pedaling out the feet again, almost like you're swimming. Just working into the back. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, take the feet down, take the forehead down, onto the backs of the hands again, and windscreen wiper out those legs. And then we'll work a bit more into the shoulders. So taking your forehead directly in contact with the mat, and take your arms out to the sides, and then take your left hand underneath your left shoulder, and we'll gently roll ourselves over onto our right hand side. So our right arm is directly behind us, and we're keeping our right ear in contact with the mat. And then bending that left leg, so sole of that left foot in contact with the floor, just finding that stability. And then using that left hand to support yourself. So pushing through that left hand if you just want to work a bit more into that right shoulder. Feeling that pinch. And either keeping it here or taking that left hand behind, wrapping it behind your lower back. Or creeping it towards that right elbow. Just depends on your flexibility. Again, a good work from home one, this. And then gently coming out of it, so placing that left hand down underneath your shoulder, really gently rolling out of it, really carefully. Taking your forehead in contact with the mat again, and taking both arms out to the side, and this time taking your right hand underneath that right shoulder, and gently rolling yourself onto your left hand side. Taking a bend in that right leg. And just supporting yourself with that right hand. And breathing into it here. Again, finding that pinch point with that left shoulder. And then wrapping that right hand round your lower back if that feels okay. And finding, can't do it on this side, finding your elbow or your other hand. And take a deep inhale, and as you exhale, rolling yourself really gently back to center. Taking both hands in front of you again, forehead onto the backs of those hands. Windscreen wipering out the legs. And then taking your hands underneath those shoulders. Take an inhale as you come up through tabletop. So up onto your hands and knees. Really arching the spine, chin to chest. Tucking the toes under, sending the hips high. Then we'll come into our first downward dog. Hopefully not feeling too tight, because we've worked into the hamstrings already, but pedaling out the feet in time with your breath. Just feeling the alternate stretch on both sides. And then finding some stillness. So lowering those heels towards the mat. Try to make sure your head is in line with your upper arms. And if not, bending through the knees so that you can push the torso closer to those knees. And sending that breath around the body. So making sure you're still breathing. Taking long, deep inhales into the belly, up into the chest. And then slow exhale. And we'll take an inhale. And as you exhale, we'll roll ourselves Really slowly forwards into a plank position. So options here to drop to the knees if that's too strong. But taking your gaze between your thumbs. Really tucking the tailbone under so you're rotating the pelvis towards the mat so that you really engage the core. Pushing through your heels so you can feel that stretch in the backs of your legs. And just noticing the heat build as you hold the pose. And at the same time, sending the breath around the body. See if you can find some more space between the shoulders, so really puffing out the shoulders. Nice. And staying with that breath. Take an inhale here, and as you exhale, we'll send our hips high again, coming into that downward dog. And again, slow, deep inhales and exhales. If you need to take child's pose at any time, knees as wide as the mat, big toes to touch. And sink your sit bones down onto your heels. So we'll build the heat. But if not, we're still in downward dog. Take another inhale here, and as you exhale, roll yourselves back forwards into that plank. Again, really tucking that tailbone under. Inhale here, and as you exhale, we'll send those hips high into that downward dog one last time. Deep inhale, and as you exhale, we'll step the feet, baby steps, towards your hands at the top of the mat, grabbing hold of opposite elbows, swaying out from side to side, taking some bounces, and we're in our ragdoll. Releasing the hands, take an inhale, take your hands onto your shins, gaze forward, really squeeze the shoulder blades together in our flat back position. Then we'll exhale, fold, really releasing the neck, little nods, little nose. And we'll inhale to our flat back again and exhale, fold. This time, using your peace fingers to grab hold of your big toes. If you need to take your feet out a bit wider to be able to reach them or bend through the knees, that's absolutely fine. But using the resistance of your hands, of those fingers, just to pull your torso, pull the crown of the head further towards the floor, releasing the neck, taking the elbows out towards the side. And again, bending those knees really deeply if you need to. So taking your cheeks between your knees. So really good for the lower back. And then just play with straightening and bending either knee. Just be a bit playful with it, a bit explorative with it. Or keeping those legs straight and really pulling the crown of the head down towards the mat, working into those lovely, lovely hamstrings. And then releasing your hands, we'll inhale, pushing through the feet, taking your hands all the way above your head, coming up into standing. And then exhale, taking your hands down beside your sides and maybe closing down the eyes here. Just readjusting to standing. So feet are hip width apart, equal weight between both feet and between those four corners of each feet, growing out through the crown of the head. Dropping the shoulders on the exhale, tucking the tailbone under and pulling up on the kneecaps. So we're in a really active pose. Our Tadasana, our mountain pose. And then inhale as you sweep those arms up above the head again. And exhale, take them down beside you and then interlace behind. Inhale as you shine the chest forward, and then exhale, we'll fold over at the hips, coming into a forward fold again, releasing the neck and working into those shoulders. And working on squeezing the shoulders together rather than forcing the hands overhead. And at the same time, making sure that neck is relaxed. Can you do some nods and no's? And using gravity just to drop the crown of the head further towards the mat. Staying with the breath. Slow inhales and exhales. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, release the fingertips as you bend into the knees, sweeping those hands up beside your ears, sitting those hips back, and we're coming into our chair pose. So extending your arms past your ears, palms facing each other, gaze between the fingertips, tuck that tailbone under so that you're not sinking into your lower back too much. Take an inhale here, and as you exhale, folding all the way forwards, coming back into that forward fold again, and we'll inhale up into our flat back, gaze is forward. Exhale, bend the knees, plant the hands, and step, walk, or jump yourselves into your plank position. Take a deep inhale here as you reset. And as you exhale, bend your elbows, keeping them tucked into the torso, lowering yourself all the way down to the mat. Drop to the knees if you need to. And inhale, pushing through the hands, extending through your arms, gaze up towards the ceiling. We're in our nice back bend, our cobra. And exhale, tuck your toes under as you send your hips high. We're coming into our downward dog. And pausing here for your inhale and your exhale. And then we'll turn our left foot out. So that left foot is pointing towards the top left corner of your mat. We'll inhale our right leg up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, step that right foot between your hands. You may need to help it if it lands here, that's fine. And then planting both feet onto the mat. You'll inhale, sweep those arms up. And we're into our warrior one. So palms facing each other. Gaze up towards the ceiling. Really engage that left glute so you can square off your hips towards the front of the mat as much as you can. Bending into that right knee. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, folding forwards, framing that front foot. And then stepping yourselves back into a plank. Again, there's options here. Drop to the knees if you need to. Take an inhale to reset. And as you exhale, bend at those elbows, lowering yourself down. Then we'll inhale, coming up onto the tops of the feet, pushing through the hands. Gaze up towards the ceiling, into our full cobra or our upward dog. And exhale, tuck those toes under, send those hips high. We're in our downward dog again. Turn the right foot out this time, about 45 degrees, pointing it towards the top right corner of the mat. And inhale the left up towards the ceiling. And exhale, step that left foot between the hands. Again, helping it if you need to. Making sure both feet are planted. And we'll inhale, release those hands all the way back up towards the ceiling again. Palms facing each other. This time engaging that right glute so you can square off those hips. Bend in the left knee, straight right leg, right foot pointing out. Then we'll exhale, folding over that left leg, stepping yourselves back to plank. Inhale here to reset. Exhale, bend those elbows, lowering down. We'll inhale, upward dog. And exhale, sending those hips high. We're into our downward dog. And pausing here. So we're here for a few breaths. Just resetting. Sending that breath around the body. Notice your breath. Notice your heat. That energy you've created, your heart rate. And resisting the urge to breathe through the mouth or to hold the breath. Maybe even closing down your eyes, reconnecting. Slow, deep inhales and exhales. And we'll take a bend in the knee on the inhale, gaze through the hands and step walk or even hop yourselves towards the top of the mat, coming into your crouch. And then inhale, sweeping those arms up, sinking those hips back, extending through the fingertips, arms past the ears. And exhale, coming up to standing, hands to heart center. And again, just pausing here, noticing that heart rate, notice the heat, and just enjoying the rebound, less intensity, sending the breath around the body. And we'll go one more time on that flow. It can be really intense, really strong. If you need to take child's pose at any time, just go for it, or take an option to go onto the knees. So dropping the hands, we'll inhale, bend the knees, sitting yourselves back, sweeping those arms up, gaze between the fingertips. We're back into our chair pose. And this time really notice your position. So really try and tuck that tailbone under. Really lengthen out through those fingertips, but at the same time, try and drop those shoulders down away from the ears. Weight in the heels, almost like you could pick the toes up. And exhale, straighten the legs as you fold forwards, coming into that nice forward fold. We'll inhale, flat back, gaze forward. Exhale, plant the hands and step walk or jump yourselves into your plank. We'll inhale here and exhale, bend at those elbows, keeping them tucked in, lowering down. Inhale, switch the feet, coming up into your back bend. And exhale, sending those hips high into your downward dog. Once you're in your downward dog, turning that left foot out, inhale the right foot up. Exhale, step the right foot through. And inhale, releasing those fingertips. Coming up into your warrior one, maybe even taking it into a mini back bend, if that feels good. And exhale, folding over that right knee again, pivoting on the back foot, stepping back to plank. Inhale here, exhale, lowering down. We'll inhale, release the feet to our back bend. And exhale, push through the hands. Sending those hips high. Once you're here in your downward dog, turn that right foot out. Inhale the left up high. Step that left foot through. Inhale, release the fingertips. We're up into our warrior one again. Maybe taking it into that back bend. And exhale, folding forwards, framing that foot. Step yourselves back to plank. Take an inhale, exhale, lower. Inhale, push through the hands, your upward dog. And exhale, send those hips high. We're back into our downward dog. And just seeing, now that you're a bit warmer, can you lower those heels a bit further towards the floor? Can you push your torso further towards those thighs? Can you push those shoulder blades further together? Then we'll inhale, taking a bend in the knees, gaze forward, and step walk or hop yourselves to the top of the mat. And then inhale, sweeping those arms past your ears, sinking those hips back. And exhale, hands to heart center. And again, just pausing here, just to release and reset. And then stepping yourselves out so you can face me. We'll just go to a bit of a balance before we stretch it out onto the floor. So taking your hands to heart center, taking your weight into your right foot and taking your right ankle, left ankle, sorry, over that right thigh. And really pressing into that right thigh so you can open out that left hip, dropping that left knee towards the side of the room. That's it. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, bend into that right leg. As you fold your torso over, flex that left foot so you protect the knee. And seeing, ooh, I'm losing my balance. Seeing if you can take your elbows towards that left knee and the left foot. And inhale, gently coming back up. Sit. Then exhale, fold again. Ooh, balancey, balancey. Inhale, back up. Really good for the legs, really good for the hips. Exhale, take it back down again. And inhale, coming back up. And then dropping that left foot, shaking it out. And we'll go the other side. So hands to heart center again. Take the right ankle over the left, just above the knee. Really using the resistance of that leg against one another to open out that right hip. So really as if you're trying to pull that right knee towards the back of the room. We'll inhale here. And as you exhale, bend into that left knee and folding that torso towards the floor, but really keeping your back straight at the same time and taking your elbows towards that foot and that knee. And we'll inhale back up and exhale, fold. Real strength in that leg. Inhale back up. And exhale, fold again. And inhale back up. And then shaking it out. And we'll get to the floor. So we'll just do a couple of core exercises before we finish. So we'll go into our boat pose, Anavasana. So taking a bend in the knees, soles of the feet onto the floor. Inhale, really extend out through the crown of the head. Shine your chest forward, sitting tall. And then extending both arms in front of you, so lengthening out through those fingertips. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, take your feet to a hover, trying not to change the position of your spine. And if that feels fine, just holding it here. We're seeing maybe if you can take your shins parallel to the mat. And just breathing here. And again, either holding it here or maybe taking one toe down just for a bit of balance. Just whatever you can feel good with. And if you're okay here, maybe taking your fingertips to your temples. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, take your right elbow towards your left knee. Inhale back to center, and then left elbow to right knee. Inhale back to center. We'll go the other side. You can see what we're doing here. Nice twists. Then we'll stay for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Keep breathing. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Brilliant. Well done, everyone. And taking yourselves down onto your mat, hugging your knees in, taking some circles with those knees, so really massaging the lower back into the mat. And taking your arms out to the sides, palms facing down, and dropping your knees over to the left as you gaze out over your right shoulder or over those right fingertips. And take a couple of deep breaths here before inhaling back through center, and exhale, dropping the knees over towards the right, gazing over the left. Really releasing that lower back. Really long, deep inhales and exhales. And inhale back through center. And maybe hugging those knees in, taking your knees towards your nose, lifting your shoulders off the mat, hugging them in. And then sending those legs long, coming down into a nice lying down position, allowing your feet just to relax out to the sides, taking your hands beside you, palms facing the ceiling, and just take that attention to your breath again, like we did at the start of the practice. So the rise and fall of your belly, just allowing yourself to sink into the mat on every exhale. And just enjoying the contrast from the intensity of some of those postures. And just noticing the ease of breath. Noticing any heat that you've generated. Just feeling that energy. And then inhale as you point through the toes, taking your hands up overhead, interlacing the fingers, pointing through the forefingers. Lovely pencil stretch. And then turning over onto your right side. Resting here just for a couple of breaths, supporting your head with your hands. Before coming up to center, so up to seated even, into center. And either keeping your eyes closed or keeping them open. And taking your hands back onto your knees. So again, palms facing down, palms facing up. And just take some time to remember that intention that you may have set. And then taking a really deep breath into the belly and then up into the chest. And then sighing it out through the mouth. Just inhaling really good energy, and exhaling anything negative. And taking your hands to heart center. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.